Beyond the headlines, the noise, the spin, we seek the stories that live within. Past party lines, past powers disguised, we hear the truth in everyday lives. A space for voices, both gentle and strong. Beyond politics, where we all belong.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Politics on Oz Arab Media, where we take the time to understand how decisions that shape our lives are actually made. Before we start, I'd like to mention that my hair is done by Laurent Hair Salon. For those who don't know me, I'm Christine, and today I'm joined by Councillor Peter Camilleri, who serves on Blacktown City Council, one of the fastest growing local government areas in New South Wales. As a representative of a rapidly expanding community, he is directly involved in decisions that affect infrastructure, planning, and the day-to-day livability of residents. Now, this conversation matters because local government plays a crucial role in managing growth and ensuring that communities develop in a sustainable and balanced way. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Of course, at any time. Peter, with Beyond Politics, I'd like to start with the person beyond the politics. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how early environment really shaped the perspective of community life.
So this I've been asked a number of times.
Yeah.
So I've got a long history with Blacktown. My parents brought me here as an 8-year-old in 1980.
Wow.
We moved into the Blacktown region. And we've moved houses a couple of times, but always within Blacktown. Went to school in Blacktown, raised a family in Blacktown, and I still live in Blacktown today.
Amazing. So we can say born and bred, although I wasn't really born, but really lived your life in Blacktown. Do you mind me asking what was the background of the industry you worked with before politics?
So I worked always in the construction industry, heavy, large building and infrastructure projects, and spent the last 25 years on predominantly water and wastewater projects throughout Australia, really.
Amazing. So you do have experience and work within the infrastructure in general. What motivated you to step into the local government rather than just support from out of the circle?
So it was actually in 2014-15 when there was going to be the largest incinerator built in Western Sydney, and I felt that council and councillors didn't have the technical expertise to be able to have the relevant arguments, and so that was my original driver. It was 500 metres from my children, from the house I lived in, and I didn't think that it was a good thing for the area, wasn't well understood. And in my first term in 2016, we did have the battle that lasted a number of years, and we eventually won.
That is amazing. Where was the moment when you realised that serving public comes with responsibility or even sacrifice?
So they came at different times. Responsibility, I always had an acceptance of the huge responsibility that you have in serving the public, because all too often governments today think that the public is there to serve them, and I've always been an advocate for we are there to serve the public. And so, but the big sacrifice, you actually don't understand it till years and years later, where you get overlooked for certain jobs because you're in the political sphere. You are now a consultant in the building industry. I get overlooked for a lot of jobs because of my views. So it comes at a huge personal sacrifice when you're a professional.
Oh, wow. That's interesting to know. If we can start talking some politics, when it comes to population growth and development in Blacktown, what part of the process do you think the public is the least aware of?
I think they're least aware of which level of government provides what. So that's a real hard thing for them to understand and grasp the concept.
Fair enough. And do you sometimes try to tell them, oh, this is local government, no, this is state, no, that's federal? How do you learn it before telling them?
Look, it's actually trial and error because sometimes, so someone will make a complaint about a road and then I'll go back to council and say, hey, there's a problem with this road.
Yes.
And they'll go back, oh, hang on, that's a state road.
Oh, wow.
and so then and over time, I've been doing it 10 years now. I've got a pretty good handle of my area, who's responsible for what.
Amazing. And you always need to keep it with the public. Oh, no, this is state, this is local. It's not that we're not doing our job.
And so then and over time, I've been doing it 10 years now. I've got a pretty good handle of my area, who's responsible for what.
Amazing. And you always need to keep it with the public. Oh, no, this is state, this is local. It's not that we're not doing our job. It is that it's not our area.
Yeah, so I take a slightly different view to some of the councillors. So once we identify it's a state problem, as a councillor, you have no more responsibility to represent, but I choose to continue to represent.
Right.
So I'll go and draft a letter, make a representation to the state counterparts to try and address a problem, because all problems are local problems.
Right.
You know, even if there's a state road that runs through your neck of the woods, it's still a local problem.
Amazing. Where do compromises usually happen, Peter, when balancing development with infrastructure needs?
Look, a lot of this isn't about compromise. It's often predetermined. So we're part of the Northwest Growth Sector, which was a plan that came about through state government allocating an area. And once that's locked in, a lot of the planning controls and planning powers are not with local government anymore. So those projects tend to roll out.
Right.
And a lot of the infrastructure delivery for those projects, the roads, the buses, the railway stations or the metros, is all tied up with the state government. So at that point, we actually get very little input, except for, we still do it now. We have advocacy pushing for whichever government is in at the time to deliver certain things and missing infrastructure for the community.
Right.
And we still deliver the parks, the roads, rates and rubbish for the area, and those more minor things, but a part of everyday life.
Amazing. And what most often really slows down some good ideas in council trying to improve or give in a point that improves the livability of growing, if in your opinion, of course?
So in my opinion, there's a couple, I'll attack this on a couple of levels.
All right.
Okay. So some of the things in chamber get stunted because of a lack of knowledge of councillors.
Right.
So councillors come from everyday life. So we have the general cleaner, the union delegate, the lawyer, the accountant.
Right.
So we have all aspects. Then you're trying to deliver an infrastructure project or understand an infrastructure problem, and 90% of the people that you're explaining to don't understand it themselves.
Okay.
So that stifles good ideas on one level. They'll misinterpret and...
you need to do the awareness before you do the actual job.
And if they misinterpret, they'll vote against it, and good ideas die.
Yes.
The other big one for me is regulatory framework. The amount of hoops that a council has to jump through, put there by state governments to keep them accountable, actually means they end up getting stifled in being able to deliver the benefit that it's there to deliver.
Understandable. Now, you always mentioned, and we're still talking about how council works alongside state and federal governments. Where do coordination challenges most commonly arise?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes.
So when we try and coordinate with state and federal governments, the unfortunate thing is everything's still a political body.
Okay.
So there is areas that get preferences. There's areas that get more action. And I've always said that our area has been pretty dominated by one party for forever.
Yes.
And so that party doesn't really contribute or doesn't need to contribute to the area to get votes.
Right.
And the other party doesn't contribute because they won't get any votes
Yes.
regardless. So it becomes a stifle hold of inaction. And what we see is Penrith gets a lot of funds and money through state and federal parliaments, and Parramatta gets a lot of money. And they happen to be very, very marginal seats, and that's where the politics
So
plays.
political bias, we can say, sometimes happens that slows down some work through local and federal government, in your opinion.
Yeah, look, definitely. I mean, we did have the previous Liberal national government
Right.
stepped up, heard our advocacy. They contributed $270 million to what's called Western Sydney Infrastructure Grants Programs,
Right.
which is still ongoing now. And the deal was honoured by the current government, and it's given us $270 million to rebuild, improve and add to the infrastructure that we get delivered in Blacktown. And some of the things, like in my ward, in the Mount Druitt Town Centre, it's been very run down for a very long time. There's all up, including money that council's contributing. We're spending about $70 million to improve the whole centre of Mount Druitt, which is going to make a significant difference to the people on the ground.
Right. Well, talking about all the work that you guys do, how do you balance pressure for new housing and development with the real need for infrastructure like the roads, the schools, and services?
So that's an eternal
Yes.
balancing act. The problem we have is that the services are only paid for once all the contributions are received from the development of the land. And this is why people are always saying, oh, why, the services are needed, why aren't you delivering them? And we plan them, these things take years to plan, they're on the books.
Yes.
But often we can't pay for them until a development's finished because we haven't finished collecting the contributions. And state governments won't provide the upfront money to deliver them before the contributions are collected.
Amazing. So we need to compete for priorities in general. When competing for those priorities emerge things like economic growth, environmental concerns, community expectations. How are these really measured or weighed in practice?
So it's, as I said, it's always
Yes.
a balancing act,
Yeah.
and each councillor has their own set of values
As well.
that they
Yeah.
operate under. So mine, I can talk about mine.
Yeah, of
Mine
course.
are community safety is always paramount.
Yeah.
Then we go down the rank to discomfort. So something needs fixing, but no one's getting hurt at the moment. It's just
Yeah.
not the best. And then we go to the nice to haves. And so always there's this, each councillor has their own life filter of how they determine, because essentially things go forward or don't go forward based on a majority vote within the chamber. So even if I have a view, that doesn't mean that's what we're going to do.
Because you don't have the vote.
I don't get the last say.
Yeah. All right, makes sense. Who benefits the most, Peter, from the current planning and growth strategies in Blacktown today?
Look, it's hard to pick a beneficiary. I think the state benefits the most because Blacktown is taking the load of the greatest growth, but a lot of it gets paid for, and the inconvenience is by the existing ratepayers.
Right.
And that's where the government's allocated the growth target for New South Wales. And so the people bear the load. The people who benefit are the ones who don't have to find the infrastructure money, don't have to sit in traffic, don't have to...
So the local people, mainly?
No, it's actually the people outside the
Outside,
local area
yeah.
who benefit.
Oh,
So the
okay.
people in the eastern suburbs who say, "Oh no, we don't want development here. We want our place to stay exactly as it is."
Okay.
They don't go through the inconvenience.
All right.
They don't have to find more money for parks and roads and other services.
Okay.
But yet we have to find massive amounts and deliver massive amounts. And what happens is the new areas then get far ahead of the old areas.
Yes.
Because the old areas have old parks and old footpaths and old community infrastructure.
Right.
Where obviously you don't build old stuff, and when you have full suburbs like we are seeing the growth, we have full suburbs being built, they come with new parks and new footpaths and new roads and
Nice.
new facilities.
And on the other hand, who might be felt behind from the city continuing to expand?
Definitely the people in the existing suburbs.
Oh, wow.
So in my own ward, I'm split through the middle of Blacktown in Ward 4.
Yes.
So I have some really brand new, shiny suburbs, and I have some of the oldest suburbs in Blacktown that I look after. And certainly when I drive around and I talk to people, I can see it's like a great divide of, if I can be so bold as to say, the haves and the have-nots.
Okay.
That's what we're fast becoming, and we're seeing that gap expanding because in the old areas the infrastructure gets older, and we need to keep patching it up and fixing it, which we do,
Yes.
but it's never as good as the shiny new suburb
Suburbs.
over here.
Yeah. Then what should residents realistically expect in the coming years as Blacktown continues to grow? Are we going to keep them the good suburbs and the bad suburbs? How it's going to work?
So we will catch up.
Yes.
Is my view.
Yes.
The as with all these things, you're a bit behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
You're where I speak to councillors from rural and other places all over New South Wales, and they
Yes.
talk about, we've got a projection growth for 30 years' time to have an extra 5,000 people in our town.
Yes.
And I say to them, we get 10 to 20,000 per year. So,
Oh my God.
so this is the kind of thing we're trying to manage. We will catch up. You're always behind the 8 ball when you're growing at such a huge rate. Our
Right.
yearly import is bigger than some of these rural towns.
Wow. That really proves how fast growing Blacktown is and how much attention and affection it needs from you guys.
Definitely.
Awesome. Before I wrap up, Peter, what keeps you as a person motivated to serve local government, particularly community that is experiencing rapid change and growth like Blacktown?
Really what keeps me motivated is the feeling of making a difference.
Right.
I didn't join for the glory. I certainly didn't join for the pay packet.
Yes.
And even though we often get judged in the public sphere, what keeps me motivated is to make a difference. My
Yes.
children are growing up in the area.
Yes.
They will probably one day raise a family in the area, and I do it for my children and the children of the local community.
Amazing. That sounds really wonderful. One last question before I let you go. You did mention something about being judged. What's something people often misunderstand about you beyond politics?
I think being a Liberal councillor, people often associate Liberal councillors with only dealing in the corporate world.
Right.
And I think it's a very unfair perception of the way that councillors actually contribute, and that they forget that we're actually locals.
Yes.
They forget that we actually grew up in the area, most of us anyway. We live in the area. We have the same problems that you have.
You do, yes.
And we shop at the same place. We fill up petrol at the same service station. Our kids go to the same schools. They play in the same parks.
So we're in the same boat, really, regardless if we're Liberal, Labour, whatever it is.
We're all there.
Yeah,
we're all
there. Amazing. Peter, well, I'd love to thank you so much for joining me today, for all the time and effort you did to come all the way here and sharing your insights on the future of our growing Blacktown. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
No worries at all. And before we go, to our viewers, I'd like to say staying informed about local decisions help ensure that growth works for everyone. Stay engaged, stay connected, and remember that meaningful change often begins at the local level. Until next time.